My dad started selling cars. He didn't have enough money to have his own car dealership, so he had been an orphan when he was 7 years old, and he didn't really know how to be a father, really. So he looked at me, I think, and said, to be a good father to her, what I really need to do is figure out how would she survive if the same thing happened to her. So he started teaching me to sing. And he would take me around to the different car dealerships, which were actually, the front of them was a car dealership, and back in the office they were actually places where they were making bets. I would sing songs and they would give me dimes, and he'd be back in the back taking football bets. We sang in church. My father sang and my brother sang with me. We had a little trio, gospel trio, and my job was to kind of front the trio. My dad was always kind of shoving me out front and wanting me to sing. And he was right. It did become the way that I made it through the world and survived.
It blows me round and round when you are near. Just one love that shines for me, shines a light that I can see. Just one love shines for me.
My relationship with Willie Nelson began, I was introduced to him. A legendary steel guitar player, Jimmy Day, had a band, and I was playing in Jimmy Day's band. Sort of met Willie there, and then I was formally introduced to him one day when we went out to look at his studio in Austin. It was an invitation-only studio, and Willie just honed right in on me. They took me out to the golf course, and it was great because Willie just made a great drive, and then he turned around and I was standing in front of him, and he just looked right into my soul, and he asked me, "How long have you been singing?" And I said, "Since I was 6 years old." And he said, "Do you write?" And I said, "Yes." And then we'd been joking because I didn't have a record deal earlier in the day about who my distributor was, and my manager had said God. And so he asked me the question, and I just sort of looked at him, and somebody said, "Tell him," and I said, "God." And we all had a laugh about that, and he said, "Well, why don't you just come out here and make a record?" Within a couple of weeks, we were back with the band, and I recorded my first record, Kimmie Rhodes and the Jackalope Brothers, at Willie Nelson's studio, and then he became aware of my songs, particularly, interestingly, here since we're in Lubbock, a song that I wrote about the house I grew up in at 27th and Avenue Q called I Just Drove By.
There it is, just like it was, a house where there was always love. I just drove by to see if things had changed.
He really related to that song, and a lot of people did, and that song really caught his attention, and he asked me to record that and another song, Just One Love, with him, and it was a record that Grady Martin was producing, and so we recorded that, and I ended up singing all over the whole record. It was his record, and it came out. And then one day I went to visit him and at his western town near where I live, and he walked up to me and said, "You want to record a duet record as soon as Christmas is over?" And I said, "Sure." And so we just sat down and recorded a handful of songs. And one of the songs we recorded was a Tom Waits song called Picture in a Frame, so we made that the title track.
In a world,
my dad was the cool dad who would buy beer for the underage, minors that were wanting to drink. So I'd go out there with him. The payback was I had to go through the cotton fields. He'd say, "I need to go check on my crops." Now, my dad wasn't a farmer, but if you're making bets and selling cars, the farmers need to be doing well. So he'd call it his crops. But he would make me drive through the cotton fields with him for a long time listening to the radio. And he'd play George Jones and whatever came on. There was great music across the dial in every genre in those days. And he'd say, "Listen to these songs, baby. These songs have real lyrics in them, and they're not just saying the same thing over and over. They really mean something." And I had no idea I was going to grow up to work with Willie Nelson and Waylan Jr. My generation did eventually come and make a natural migration back to country music. The Stones cut Wild Horses, and then the band and Sweetheart of the Rodeo and all that stuff really caused everybody to start playing country music. To me, country music is big because it's always been a folk music. You know, it's stories, people telling stories about their lives. Country music is a really big, open genre for a lot of different sounds to come in, but I think at the heart of it, it's people telling the story of how it feels to be a human being.